everybody, welcome to my channel. This is the start of a new tournament report. I know you expected it. This is the ETC 2021 in Novi, Serbia. So this video is just going to give you several information, show you my list, explain you the thought process behind the building of the list, also showing my teammate list and so on. So first of all, just to give you the context and the situation at just before the ETC. So this was a last minute ETC. Basically, ETC was going to take place in Luxembourg. They had to cancel it because of COVID. And then Serbia, they already did at least one time before. They organized already one time at least an ETC, and they bid to organize the ETC this year. A couple of countries gave a positive response. They were able to attend to it. Obviously, a lot of countries couldn't attend due to several reasons, but mainly due to COVID. So we had this last minute ETC with 14 teams, which is much smaller, but the three former world champions, meaning Germany, Poland and Spain, were going to attend. So this wasn't going to be a cheap ETC. Regarding Switzerland, so the situation was 5 out of 8 players from this year team were a player from the team from 2019 that made the third spot at the last ETC. But there were still 3 people to find to complete the team. So there was myself being included in the team this year, and also Victor coming back. So last time that I played ETC was 2017. Also, I think Victor something like 2017 or 18. So also a former Swiss player, but didn't play since a couple of years at ETC level. And the last guy was Thibaut Encore. Maybe you know him, nickname for the French mercenary. He played last time with Mexico, made a good amount of points, and this time he's a good friend of everybody in the team, and very naturally he come as a mercenary in the team to complete the 8th spot. So I think this situation is very similar to something that Germany and Spain, for example, had, meaning the core of the team being half of a team more or less of players that played the last time the ETC, and another half to complete with new player or former ETC player, basically. My ETC story so far wasn't that good. It hasn't been a good story so far. Basically, I started to play tournament competitively, I think in 2014. And then 2 years after, I was already called in the ETC Switzerland team. That was, we must say, a couple of years ago, the ETC Switzerland team was less competitive, less good, basically. We improved massively since 2016 up to today. It's totally different story. But yeah, nevertheless, I had some good performance, mostly in the French scene, also in Switzerland, and I came in the team. I went at this first ETC with an Organ list that was pretty aggressive, and really I struggled to play as aggressive as I used to in the solo tournament that I made on the French scene and also in Switzerland. So this was a disappointment for me, with only 42 points achieved, but nevertheless a very good experience to understand a little bit what kind of list you expect at ETC, how is it working, that you expect the players to be able to rate a matchup and then to follow and bring an amount of point that is similar to what you expected at the beginning, basically. So very rich experience. And the year after, basically, maybe remember that was this very nasty period with the peasants from Kingdom of Aquitaine. And it was decided that we wanted this in our meta for the ETC. We played that. I played that with some success. We made the 3rd spot at the ETC warm-up in Hereford. That was before the WTC. Solid result with my Kingdom of Aquitaine, some good victories. So I was quite confident going into ETC that this was going to be a solid list. And basically between the warm-up and the ETC, most of the countries adapted the meta to have a couple of answers against Kingdom of Aquitaine peasants. And basically I was in a situation where I had some very complicated matchups. Very hard to pair my list. Just too many counters, and really I struggled to get points, and I made even a worse performance than the year before. So that was really a bad performance for me, also hard experience, because when you lose and when you don't bring points and you see your teammate performing but still you are somehow bringing the team down, it's hard to cope with, so to say. But this was again very rich experience. I have the feeling that since 2017 and now I improved just immensely, and also mostly thanks to the help of my coach Coco. So yeah, this year basically what's going on. So this year I played ID the whole year. 3 tournaments, first tournament French tournament, then I won the Crippling Right tournament that is run on the 9th Age Forum, and then I came second at WTC. So positive performance, but definitely my ID list wasn't really an ETC type of list. Basically what you expect from an ETC list in most of the case is something quite solid. I think 5 to 6 lists have to be very solid, not struggle against war machines, have a high stability. I think mostly stability. Basically the problem with my ID list is when you play a piece like the Great Bull of Shamut and a Prophet that is worth more than 1000 points when it dies. Basically if you have something unexpected happening in the later stage, you can lose 2 to 3 points. Which is not something that you like at ETC. You like stability, you like to know in which direction it's going, and that you don't lose quickly a lot of points. So definitely we were 2 ID player, myself and Dimitri from the team, and definitely his list we discussed together, and definitely his list was just much more suited to an ETC. He had a very atypical ID list. You can check that in the video review that I made. Very special list. But basically, yeah, just much more stable and reliable for an ETC. So it was decided that I was going to play my second army, which is Ogre Khan. I have a lot of experience, so that wasn't an issue for me to play Ogre Khan again. But I didn't play Ogre Khan during 2021, after the point update. And things change a bit for the Ogre Khan after the point update. So yeah, I didn't have much time to prepare as well between the WTC and ETC due to also holidays and stuff. So I was only able to play 3 games with to try to find my list for the ETC, which is definitely not a big preparation for an ETC. I had the chance to discuss with a couple of players during ETC, and I think all of them had more preparation than me, so I wasn't prepared very much, but still I have some experience with Ogre Khan, and I think we were very effective with the team, the way we were able to find the right list after only a couple of games. We had also in the context the situation of having a new Vermin Swarm book. So this was quite huge for the team to decide, do we want to play VS or not? And are we ready to counter VS or not? The Vermin Swarm book, we found out that was quite good. And also I think most players wouldn't be so prepared against it. So it was definitely something to take in the team. And Paul and Victor together were able to build a very solid a very strong VS list. So I think that was a very good choice in the list. And Victor achieved a very high amount of points with his list. And then a couple of changes in the rule pack as well. Basically for the first time they has some hobby points. Basically you don't need to have a pro-painted army, but just something coherent, same style, tabletop style painting. So nothing too crazy expected, but just nice army on the table. And I think that is very positive. But this rule pack came short before the ETC, so didn't leave us a lot of time to prepare hobby wise. Another big change in the ETC before that I attended, it was 4 hours pairing included, and now it went up to 4 hours and a half to play and 15 minutes for pairing, which is a very high increase. But I think overall I was a bit concerned, because on one hand you can say, yeah, this leaves us with less free time and this is too much time and so on. But I think overall I had 6 very enjoyable game. We had enough time. I had time to take pictures for battle report, even to take some notes. So this wasn't a rush at all. You have time to think about it. And when you expect top performance from player at ETC level, then I think to increase the time is not stupid. Yeah, it reduces a little bit the free time, but I think taking everything into account, I think this is a very positive change in my view. Because there is less stress to finish the game, and then basically also less clash and discussion about when are we going to finish the game. So I think that was overall very positive change for me. And since we play only 2 games a day, it's okay to play 2 long games rather than 3 short games, for example. But this is a big change. And then the introduction of chess clock. So for the first time in the rule pack they decided to include the chess clock. The way it was decided was, if your opponent complains about you being too slow, he can force you to introduce the chess clock, and then the time is divided by 2 and you use the chess clock. Okay, maybe the word force is a bit too strong and can put some kind of negative pressure on the table. So I didn't use the chess clock at all during the whole ETC. Personally, I should have used it maybe once, but I had no experience with it at all. So I didn't feel confident, or I don't know. Yeah, I just feel if I use chess clock at a particular time, it will just put a negative atmosphere around the table, and I didn't want that. But I think with a bit of training, if you feel after turn 1 or turn 2, oh, this is going slow, put the chess clock just to say to both players, okay, let's try to fasten up things, just look a bit at the time. I think I heard a couple of players using that. It wasn't an issue at all. They were just able to put it in place, and then both players start to play a bit faster, and everything went fine, and they were able to finish the game. So I think this mustn't be seen as a negative pressure, but I think all players need just a bit more experience with it. And definitely during the upcoming year, I'm going to use it a bit more in my also casual game, just to check a little bit how much time do I need, how is it going on, and so on. Okay, participants. So there were 14 teams attending, and here you have the round 1 pairing. So us, Switzerland, we were paired against Poland. We are used to get a strong round 1 pairing. We got a couple of times Poland, a couple of times Spain as well. So this is nothing new for us. But yeah, definitely this was going to be very tough challenge for the first round, because Poland was for us the main contender for the prize, for the win. Because if you look at that team, they have a very solid team. I think everybody was here, nobody missing, strong rosters. So yeah, quite strong from Poland. So definitely expecting a tough round 1, but I think it's always good to face them at the beginning. Then you can see if you can have some positive expectation for the event, or if you are so far away from them. So that was always going to be a very interesting. And definitely for us going at ETC, there is the target to play the bigger team. I mean, if you don't play the bigger team, then you didn't do that well and you don't achieve a good ranking. So if you want to achieve a podium, to do very positive result, then basically you need to face these teams. If you don't, then you just end up being quite low in the table. So that was quite good to face them. Present you the team quickly. We have Victor playing Vermitswarm, Paul playing Dwarvenhold, Dimitri playing the ID, Thibaut the Mercenary playing War of Zargod, the Captain Xavier playing Demon Legion, myself playing Ogkan, Coco Freeze playing Dread Elves, then we have Andy playing Orc and Goblin, and the coach John. So the list, I won't try to be too long, but just to explain you, we didn't think too much about the meta and how the lists are going to counter this type of list. We just took, I think, what is something that Poland do. I think, if I'm rightly informed, bring 8 strong lists that are really good, and then you don't have to wonder too much. Also, we avoid to do something that we did a couple of years ago, like trying to do some push lists and some more stable lists. We just try to bring 8 strong lists, basically, that are able to, depending on the pairing, any list can score. Any list can do a big result. So this was quite important. So let's check our list. We have Xavier, took the same list that he did at WTC, worked quite well this year. Basically, it's an MSU with 2 big monsters, and then the double chariot and a lot of different units. 4 scoring total, very solid list. Then we have Paul playing more or less the same list since 2015. We found out that during ETC. Basically, it's Shooty, Dwarvenhold, MSU. Works well for him. Then we have Warrior of the Dark God, Thibaut playing with quite blocky type of Warrior of the Dark God, so no double monsters. He has the Herald, obviously, but then quite blocky, not sensitive at all to the War Machines, because he can hide the Herald behind the Feldrak or Chosen Knight. So he has a big block of Chosen Knight, big block of Feldrak, big block of Warrior, Sorcerer on the War Dice, solid magic with Herald, Adept, and the Battle Shrine. So very solid list, and 2 chaff pieces. So quite straightforward, but very solid War of the Dark God. Then we have Coco Freeze, a very specific, very special Dread Elf list. I think nobody was playing that, was playing something similar to him. So it's a pushy list that can go forward and claim point. Basically, he has 2 blocks in core. He has a Warlock Acolyte Desta with 2 characters, the BSB and the General within the unit. No, sorry, it's not the General, but the Prince. Then he has a General of Adept Alchemy with a Binding Scroll, going to help the Militant. Double Acolyte, so his magic is basically triple Adept, meaning he can 5 dice and don't care what happens. Double Thunderpack, unit of Obsidian Guard to have a 4th scoring unit that can also help you to reroll the panic outside of the bubble, because the BSB is often moving far away because of the Acolyte, meaning it's quite useful to have something to reroll the panic on your big expensive blocks. And then 2 chaff pieces. Victor with Vermin Swarm, so a very big list, basically has a ton of rats. 2 big block of Disciples, 2 big block of Legionaries with Spears, small block of as a bunker, 1 chaff pieces, double Grenadiers, double Arena Beasts, and then the Doomblade and 3 Adepts. Straightforward, very strong Vermin Swarm list. Andy, multiple time best scorer for Switzerland, a very strong player, so he's playing 3 monsters to have some push capabilities. Close combat oriented Orc and Goblin, double Chariot, double Idol, double Iron Orc, 1 block of Goblin with Shady Gates to take some challenge for the character that are too good for him, very strong at bash block, and then he has double Master. That's basically what he wants, and I think it's also something quite typical from the strong ETC list, is you will want to have to be very strong in combat, because this is where most of the secondary are decided, but then also to be able to take points with range damage. And here basically with double Master, he can claim this 1-2 points easily from distance. And then last but not least, we have Dimitri playing ID. I analyze his list in another video, but basically it's an MSU. Also very special list, ID list. Nobody was playing anything similar. Playing a lot around the flaming synergy between all the vassal unit that can pop up token. And then Flaming Incarnate, Flaming Titan, Flaming Commissioner, Flaming Chariot, so a lot of flaming attack that can take advantage from that. And also strong magical setup with triple Adept, plenty of spell. So yeah, I think that was very stable type of ID, but somehow strange because most of the ID played around the stable Bastion. Dimitri went another direction where you can have a lot of much more close combat basically than normal ID can do. And then my list. So my list, thought process was maybe the first point, the Great Khan. Why did half of the Organ player bring a Great Khan at ETC? This can be a question for you. Basically, you need to understand first the context of ETC. ETC, you want to have stability, you have a couple of close game, you want to bring the point that you committed to. You make an estimation, you say, okay, on this matchup I'm going to bring 12 points. Then you want to bring 12, not 7. Maybe you're happy when you get 15, but you want to get 12 with as less risk as needed. Meaning if you need a lot of risk to go to 15, or you not much risk go to 12, you will choose to go to 12 with less risk. So it's always measuring the downside. If I can get a 15, but there is a 40% chance that I go down to 7, this needs to be discussed with the captain. If you are in bad situation on all table, maybe this might be the right choice, but in most cases you won't do it. So I think the Great Khan is going in this direction. Basically, it gives me leadership 9, which is very stable. If you play mercenaries, you're going to take some leadership check. Obviously, you can put some discipline everywhere, but this is going to be much more reliable also if you have to take a couple of break tests. So discipline 9, a fighty character, 6 attack strength 6 all the time, is quite stable, 4 up, 4 up, 5 health point. You are never sure that you're going to take him down. Even the best fighty character are not sure they're going to kill him. So he's quite fighty, can do some output against everything, not too expensive, basically more or less the price of a hunter. If you move away the Ligatong, it's the price of a hunter. So not too expensive, and basically in comparison to a hunter, because I tried as well without Great Khan but with the hunter, basically, the Hunter is sensitive to war machines, Great Khan isn't. He can hide in the block. So I think that's also further stability. Basically, the fact that the list isn't too sensitive to war machines. I decided to go with Ligatong just to make him slightly better in duel and also help the block, for example, bruises, to fight against particular matchup. I think this, for example, in some pairing process, some lists have to take that into account and say, oh, Ligatong, maybe my Ghast unit will struggle to fight against the bruises, for example. Master Shamanism, this with the Iron Fist, so with parry and scarification, you can take some duel, which is always interesting. Then with Shamanism, you are able basically to protect Yetis and Mercenary Veteran that are glass cannon type of unit. And also what I liked is the fact that between the Totemic Summon and the Swarm of Insect, you are quite good against War Machine on round base, meaning you are able to take some points from distance and remove this War Machine quite quickly, usually. Rod of Battle, that's, if you look really close to what Ogre can choose magic wise, there are not a lot of spells that can help you augment the damage output that you're doing, and Rod of Battle is one of these. So for quite a cheap price, you are able to augment the amount of damage that you might do. And also what I liked about this item is the fact that it's automatically casted, meaning if you cast some scary spell, then at the end you just leave 2 dice, it's automatically in. You have no risk of miscast, of not casting the spell, which is kind of nice. So I think that was a very interesting choice for the Ogre Khan, that also struggled to hit well because of the low weapon skill sometimes. Then you have BSB, Naked BSB, MR2 to protect mercenaries, an additional 4 shots, and Cult Leader. Leadership 18, I wasn't convinced of it, but the more I discussed with my fellow countrymen and the more I tried it also with the Yetis, I think this gives to the Yetis especially much more freedom, but also within the 3 unit much more freedom to where you want to go. So I was quite happy to have chosen Cult Leader. Then we have a very solid block of bruisers. I played quite often last year, but 8 bruiser only, not 10. And I think it's quite a huge difference, because 10 you have 6 health point more, meaning you are not so sensitive to light shooting. You can take a couple of casualties and still be fighty enough. So I think that was the right choice. 2 small darts. Then we have 6 Mercenary Veterans, which is the second expensive combat block with the poison shooting, Musician Champion. No points here for flaming shots, for example. 5 Yetis, which are the cheap alternative to a hunter, and also I like the fact that the health points are spread. You don't have a strong character with 4 health points, possibly can die to a Gravecall, but you have 5 times 3 health points that are quite stable and can move well. So I was quite happy about this choice, and for a cheap price. They can even chaff if needed. 1 Keen Eater, 1 Saber-tooth Tiger, 5 Scalping Tapper. So I pick a bit of everything. Only the Bruiser I've seen 2 times, the rest is just 1 choice of each. I just pick what I needed. So 1 Keen Eater, it's annoying for the pairing process. You have to take into account the beast coming in an ambush. Yeah, very useful piece. 1 Saber-tooth Tiger, so the mandatory dedicated chaff pieces, scrapping, different type of chaff. Sometimes will not be used as chaff, sometimes used as chaff. Can be an aggressive turn 1 chaffer if you start the game. Can be a way to just make the road between your opponent and yourself harder. And also that was a point of this list, making a very solid list. Almost impossible for the opponent to push me effectively. So I think the trappers help also to do that. A single turner cannon, I think was also one of the purpose of the list. Be very strong against monsters, and between all the poison shots, a swarm of insect, and the thunder cannon and the crossbows, yeah, it's quite scary for monsters. So I think this was going to be in the list, and also it's a chariot, so it's still scary in combat. And then to finish the list, the Frost Mammoth, that just in combination with the Mercenary Veteran, they can open up some matchups against the elf. For example, you are able to face the elf. If you charge, you get to initiative 7, which is high enough to strike before them. So that was enough. And also, it's not a too expensive monster, so if you lose him from distance, not a big trouble. He can add some stomps in the list, he's still fighty enough. He has Chilling Hole, which is always useful to protect these 2 units. So I think he fits really well with the list. And yeah, I brought my old Ogre Khan. For this ETC, I have a new army that is better looking, obviously, but when I check the painting points, how they are going to be given, basically to have textures, movement trays was giving you points, and also regarding the WYSIWYG rules, this army was just cleaner, so I just took them. And also I felt better to take a fly with old models rather than new one. And this was also, yeah, feeling me a bit nostalgic to take the same miniatures that I took at ETC 2016. Was funny to take the old miniatures with me. So yeah, that's it, guys. Coming up soon, battle reports. I'm looking forward to discuss, analyze all this stuff with you. I know you're excited about it, so I'm quite happy, and yeah, looking forward to discuss with you all of this. Thanks a lot for watching, and talk to you soon on the channel.